Hello and welcome back to Sharks Happen. On today's show, we're going to go over a sea disaster that is very sad, reminds me of the reef. We're going to go over a kite surfer that was bitten, spear fisherman, and we're going to finish out the show with the workplace incident. I hope you'll stick around. It's going to be a great show. We're going to start out the show over at the Yanawai River, and that is in Fiji, and the date is March 10th of 2016. Maika Tabua, he is out doing some diving. He is with his cousins, and he is seen in the afternoon. He's just floating on top of the water. His cousins quickly swim over, get him into the hospital. He ends up, according to the Fiji Times, his left arm removed, his two thighs both removed, his neck severed, and all his vital organs exposed. So this shark went ahead and fed on him in the short amount of time that who knows how long it was that they weren't paying attention to where they were paying attention. Could be seconds. I mean, less than a minute for an attack like that. You think back to Marsha Hathaway. She was bitten so many times by that shark, she thought it was an octopus. Right away, bam, but that was, I believe that was a bull shark. But this sounds like a bull shark. It's in the river mouth, the Yanawai River mouth. I just don't know how far in. The further in you go, the more likely it's just a bull shark. So we're going to put this down as an attack, an attempt to predate. We don't know what kind of shark, but it's a fatality. Okay, we're going to head over to Wynnum, and that is in Moreton Bay, Queensland, Australia. The date, December 19th, 1959. Stanley Mullens, 29 years old. He is in a crabbing dinghy with Raphael Bishop. So the two men are in a dinghy and they're pulling up crab traps, it sounds like. And they're in heavy seas. And so Stanley, at 6 o'clock in the morning, Stanley loses his oar. So they're in heavy seas. He jumps overboard and he swims out to get the oar. He retrieves the oar and he's swimming back to the boat and he's pushing the oar in front of him when suddenly his friend hears him scream and he is pulled under. They don't find his body. Search doesn't locate it. Heavy seas going on. On 21st, 2 days later, they locate his body, and they say that it was as if multiple sharks were feeding on it. One of his arms was removed, but he had bites all over his body, probably of different sizes. Doesn't sound like the shark that bit him did him in, but you know, probably the cause of his death was shark pulling him under the water when he was swimming with that oar. So we don't know what size shark. We're going to put this down as an attack, an attempt to predate. We just don't know what size shark. They haven't said different radius bite marks, and they should say diameter. I see that, you know, they say a 22-inch radius bite. That'd be a 44-inch wide mouth. I mean, that isn't going to work. They're using the word radius when they should use the word diameter. I know that they want to use radius for that, but if you're going to say radius, cut that number in half. That's a peeve of mine. But anyway, that's our attack, an attempt to predate. Don't know what kind of shark on Stanley Mullens. Now we head over to Riviera Beach. That is in Florida. The date, April 26, 2011. Anthony Segrich. He is 33 years old, and he and some friends are out doing some spearfishing. They had spearfished 4 or 5 spots, and now they're in a new spot. No telling time of day, but they're 3 miles off the shore. They're in 120 foot deep or so water. And Anthony has just gone down and he speared himself a fish. He is in the process of bringing the fish to the surface. He's about 60 feet down and a large bull shark comes up. He thinks was trying to get the fish and got his calf. So he gets bitten in the calf, and his friend, who was only 10 feet away, says that, first of all, his friend was probably shocked by the thing, like, did I really get bit? But it looked like the shark went away and was coming back at him again. His friends got over and got him up and out of the water. Shark did not return for the second bite, probably because his friend got there. They got him up and out of the water and took him in. He gets his leg repaired, had at least 2 surgeries on it. The shark had a 13-inch wide bite to his leg. So his calf has a 13-inch wide bite to it, and then He had flesh removal involved in it also. The doctor said that he was, after some rehab, that he should be close to normal use of his leg after they went ahead and repaired him. They said this was a 12-foot bull shark that got a hold of his leg. I would put this down as an attack and an attempt to predate. The only problem is I don't run into these bull sharks really going any further than a single bite on most of these spear fishermen. I think the bull sharks are much more aggressive when you run into them near shore than they are when you're out there, because I've seen too many territorial attacks on spear fishermen by bull sharks. Now usually they're smaller, 8 feet, 6 feet, but this is a 12-footer, and it seems that it was territorial also. Removing flesh for a bull shark, I think that's just, part of what comes along with the deal when you get bit by them, so it's something you don't want. But we're going to put this down as an attack, not an attempt to predate on Anthony Segrich by a 12-foot bull shark. Okay, now we're going to head over off of St. Pierre, and that is on Reunion Island, and the date is September 8th of 2000. Karim Maan, 27 years old. He is out surfing at dusk. He is on his board and he is getting ready to paddle himself in, and he starts to paddle, it sounds like, when his board is bitten, lifted up in the air, and he rolls off of it. Now he notices there's a shark in the water with him, a large shark, and he takes the board and keeps the board in between him and the shark when the shark bites down on the board and his arm. Boom. So now his arm is clamped to the board. He punches the shark in the nose a couple times. Shark releases and goes away. He gets himself in. He needs 20 stitches to be able to sew up his arm. He says that this was about a 3.5 meter tiger shark. So we're talking a 10, 11 foot tiger shark got a hold of his arm when he was trying to hold the board to keep the shark on the other side of it. I would suggest you do that with tiger sharks. I would say that if you know what shark it is, great white, I would just let it go because it's probably not going to touch you. But those tiger sharks, when they bite those boards, a lot of times they'll turn and bite the person afterwards. So he did the right thing, I think, and put that board between the two of them and ended up with his arm bit. But that's probably best case scenario in that situation. Attacks on boards by both bull sharks and tiger sharks. Tiger sharks have been known to be taking these people off boards and going ahead and finishing them off. Robin Warren's one. We covered another one that had a fatal attack on them by a tiger shark. So tiger sharks and bull sharks are not the same in attacking boards as great whites. Great whites are totally different in that, to where the great white is 95 to 99% of the time not interested in feeding at all, not interested in even biting a person. It wants that board out of the water. So that's our attack. An attack, not an attempt to predate. 11-foot tiger shark. Okay, now we're going to head over to Hanamu, and that is Oahu, Hawaii. The date, March 3rd, 1914. Okomoto, he is out picking some opihi, so sounds like some kind of a mollusk that's probably in the rocks or near the shore. And he is swept out to sea, and a witness that watched it said that he disappeared under the water, and when he reappeared, there was a shark that had him, and another large shark seemed to have been fighting over him. So these two sharks were fighting over him as food. The witness said he ends up being taken by the sharks. There's no saying of a sighting of his remains afterwards, so we're going to put this down as an attack, an attempt to predate. Sounds like a couple of large tiger sharks went ahead and got a hold of him, but it is Hawaii. It could also be a great white, so what we're going to do is put it down as an attack and predation, fatality, don't know what kind of shark. Okay, now we're going to finish off our unprovoked attacks over off the Carolinas, which is the east coast of the United States. The date on this is October 23rd, 1982. John Lippeth, he owns a 58-foot yacht, the Trashman. Him and his girlfriend Meg Mooney, they hire 3 people. They hire Mark Adams, Deborah Scaling Kiley, and Brad Kavanaugh. So the 3 are going to be their crew. The 5 are going from Portland, Maine, and they're going to take the boat down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So they take off, they leave Portland, Maine, they stop in Annapolis, Maryland, and they refuel. Now they're going along the coast heading down to Fort Lauderdale when they run into a tropical storm. They have 70-mile-an-hour winds and 30-foot waves, and this capsizes their boat, which injures at least Meg Mooney. But the crew is able to get a Zodiac, 11-foot Zodiac. 5 of them are in the Zodiac, and they're floating along in these heavy seas. A shark comes along and grabs onto the rope. So there's a safety rope off the front of the boat, and the shark grabs the rope, and it sounds like it pulled it, which sent John Lippeth into the water. And he ends up being taken by sharks. The sharks grab him, he disappears. They don't see nothing of him. Now, Meg Mooney, John's girlfriend, she ends up passing away as her wounds got septic. So she definitely got injured, not by a shark. She was injured during the overturning of the boat. Her wounds went septic and she passed away on the boat. Eventually, that leaves three alive on the boat, and Meg Mooney's passed away on the boat. Mark Adams, he goes delusional and he jumps overboard and he's taken by a shark. So both John Lippeth and Mark Adams are taken by sharks. Meg Mooney passes away from her wounds from the overturning of the boat, and I'm thinking that Mark Adams was probably also injured in the overturning of the boat, and the intake of the salt water did the same thing that happens over time that happened to the Indianapolis crew when they went into the water. Only 2 people are alive. There's a picture of them in the Kodiak. That would be Brad Kavanaugh and Deborah Scaling Kiley. What a thing to go through. You have to sit there and watch somebody fall overboard, taken by a shark. Then you have to watch the girlfriend of the person that hired you. She passes away from her wounds that you had when. It's got to be awful to be in an overturned boat. I don't care what it is. First of all, you're lucky to get out of there without having wounds that are going to keep you from being conscious, first of all. I mean, everything's flying around when a boat overturns. The bigger the boat, the more stuff is in there, I think, that's going to be able to fly around. But I mean, then you got the gentleman, Mark, that jumped overboard and he was taken by sharks. So you got 2 people that had to witness all this. And, you know, you have to live with that for the rest of your life. That's got to be as tough as Ray Boundy. Okay, now we're going to finish off our show with a workplace accident. Before I get around to this story, I wanted to let you know that both stores are still open. The website, sharkshappen.com, the Etsy store, which you can get to sharkshappen2.etsy.com. Both of those are open. I will be down in the Florida Keys in Isla Mirada at the Founders Park Nautical Flea Market, February 25th and 26th, and if you can, stop by. Love to see you. So we're going to start this out for the ending of the show. We're going to go over to SeaWorld, which is in Queensland, Australia, and it's August 29th of 1989. Mike Richardson, he's 30 years old, and he is out and he's doing a show for the folks. He's got a stick that he's got a fish on to feed the sharks, but somehow there must be multiple sharks in this tank, because one sneaks up behind him, grabs him by the leg and just shakes him like a doll, and then releases him and goes off. He gets up, gets his wounds taken care of. It turns out to be from a 2.5 meter, so you're talking 7 to 8 foot gray nurse shark with all those pointy teeth. I haven't heard that they have much. They could probably bite your wrist off or something like that, but I don't think they could go through a leg bone. I've never heard of that yet, that a gray nurse has taken a leg. I'm sure a large one could if it wanted to, but I don't know that those teeth can do it. You know, it's the teeth that help these things rip those legs off and things like that. And when you have all those little pointy teeth that are just putting holes in you, I don't see that it could do that much damage. But I mean, you know, you go into work and you're doing your job, and now you're going to the hospital, and it's not out of your stupidity like me with my finger. It's because a shark decided it was going to grab you instead of the fish you're going to give it. I really would like to know how many sharks were in that tank for him not to know that one of them was behind him. I don't think that there's a huge number of sharks in there that you can, maybe 2 or 3, that I would think that if that was my job, I'd make sure I knew where each one of those were every time. But it seems that he didn't do that. So Mike Richardson ends up getting bit on the job, and I'm sure they took care of him, took care of his medical bills, and hopefully gave him a little bit of a raise. So, or maybe they just got rid of him like the other one that got attacked in a place like that. You never know. So that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll be with me in another few days with another show full of attacks. Should have some more shorts and single attack videos coming out in between these full shows. But until then, if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.